Rock Me Mama.
Hi, I'm Macy.
And I'm Morgan.
And this is
Rock Me Mama. Didn't you hear that the camera adds 75 pounds? I'm Amie. I'm Amie. What do you mean?
We actually kicked Amie out. She's no longer our friend. She's no longer here.
Yeah, she got Rock Me booted to the curb.
She sure did. No, she's actually off doing the most badass thing right now.
Don't know,
she performed.
Can we share?
I don't know. Can we?
Go for it.
It'll be shared.
Yeah, go for it.
She posted on her story today. She's performing.
That's not my problem.
She's performing with Megan Maroney on NPR Tiny Desk, which is like a massive deal. She was the background singer that Megan wanted to be there. So yes, we miss her being here.
So I'm the background singer for Rock Me Mama.
Well, you except you're not really in the background, but so we miss Amie, but obviously we were like, go and do this.
Yep.
But we also have a guest. This is Dani, and she is, ironically enough, Amy's friend. So we are gonna hear her story. It's pretty incredible. But before diving in, tell us about you, like like elevator pitch spiel. Who you are, how you know Amie, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm a singer-songwriter, like Amie, and like lived in New York for years, lived in Nashville for years, recently relocated to LA, but met Amie actually in LA. Oh God, I was probably like 24. I'm like, okay, so like 16 years ago, I think.
Wow. Okay.
And we trauma bonded at an audition for a huge pop artist.
Who, can I ask?
I guess like I'll say it, and then if
we
you
need to
guys
bleep
can
it out,
decide
we
it.
can,
Yeah,
yeah.
Katy Perry.
That's so cool. Amie has talked
Did
about
you
her
totally
before.
feel like a paper bag? Is it trash bag?
I did feel like
Grocery
a
bag?
trash bag floating in the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we
Plastic
both
bag.
did. Plastic bag.
Oh, my.
That's why I didn't get the gig.
We made it.
You're like, I said canvas tote, and I didn't get it.
Oh, no, like it was such a crazy day. Like it came down to the two of us, and then the record hadn't even been released yet. And she basically had the whole band there. She was there, MD was there, and she had Amie and I going out of the room every 15 minutes to learn a new song that we had never heard before, coming in, singing it in front of each other with the band in front of Katie, and then alternating to try to make us like one-up each other, basically.
So when you said trauma bonded,
But so we like the whole time
Was that the trauma?
Yes, like we would go back out and be like, what is happening? Like this, and it was a 6-hour long audition.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to hear her memories of it. This is what is in my brain forever.
oh my gosh, we have to ask her.
And
Yeah.
at the end, we were like, should we go get a drink? And we did.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is crazy.
It's amazing.
It was the most stressful audition
That's horrible.
I've ever had. And then I was up for that gig like 2 more times and had like similar experiences.
So it's kind of only uphill from there.
It really truly was
Lord.
Yeah.
like that was like I would say the
bottom.
most intense audition I've ever had in my entire career.
I hope. I mean, I hope it's not more intense than
Oh,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
glad it was early on.
I
Good
know.
Lord, have mercy, Miss
Wow.
Perry. Get a grip.
I know. I was like, girl, it's not that deep.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
just need somebody to blend with you. Let's go.
Right.
That was
Right,
So
right.
it was just it was background vocal
Yeah.
audition.
Yeah. It was so crazy.
Wow. I wonder if that's still her.
I don't know.
Her thing.
I don't know. I'm like, that gig is not for me, clearly. Like
Yeah,
the universe
sure.
doesn't want me
Yeah.
to have that gig. So, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah, you
She's
can
also
we
like
can let
taken
that
a bit
one.
of a turn lately, but that's okay. So that's how you and Amie met.
Yeah, that's
Shout
how
out
we
Katy Perry.
bonded through
Love
Katy
it.
Perry. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be
Wow.
like you were going to audition for something and you trauma bonded just over like life, but now I know that the
Yeah.
audition was the trauma
Yeah.
you were
No,
bonded
it was
over.
like we
It's
were
really
both just like wiped at the end of that day,
Like horse, probably.
Yeah,
You're like, there's
yeah,
nothing
like
left.
mentally, physically, we were just like, what just happened? Like what?
That is wild.
Yeah, it was really.
So here y'all are still friends.
Here we
16
are.
years later.
Yeah. Well, I was saying like basically like we kind of fell out of touch after that. And then I had posted about my fertility journey and she reached out to me and shared some of like what had been going on Instagram with her and just was like so kind. And we just like reconnected over that and just like kind of reignited at least our virtual friendship. But we haven't actually seen each other in the flesh since that fateful day.
Oh my gosh.
Which is wild. I know.
Are you going to get to see her before you leave?
I don't know. I hope so. But like we're doing this whole like baby shower, my 40th on Saturday. And like my parents flew in. We're staying with my in-laws. It's like crazy. Like, pray for me.
Lots
and prayers.
There's a lot happening. There's a lot happening.
So we're gonna trauma bond over something else.
Right. Another trauma bond.
Good God.
So I have heard like the smallest little morsel of your story, but just kind of topic wise, I know that your story includes several miscarriages, and that's a topic that we've talked about before on the show. But the three of us, none of us have experienced one ourselves, and so which I mean, I don't say that lightly. That feels heavy to even say because I know that is the statistic is still 1 in 4, right? Which is
crazy.
I mean, if you're the fourth in this situation, it's crazy. So
this is an exact ratio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which this is not a big group. It's just so crazy to me.
I know.
And so anyways, I say that just because whenever, we don't know, we can't pretend like we know anything about miscarriages, but they're so real and our listeners are literally 100% moms. And so there are moms who are very unfortunately still experiencing miscarriages and living that reality. And so it's, I don't want to say nice, but it's validating. It's real, therapeutic to have a mom who has lived through 1, 2, whatever, to share her story and whatever that story sort of looks like. Because we can't get on here and talk about it.
Yeah.
So
1, we can't talk about it, but 2, it's like also like life in general, it's nice to have another perspective, outside of your own. So appreciate you being willing to talk about it.
Oh my gosh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, fuck, if anything good comes out of it, like,
100%.
like at least like if people feel less alone, hearing someone else's experience. Because I know for me, I think that was the first thing I really felt like so deeply was like, who else has this happened to?
Right.
And I couldn't find like real accounts of like what it was like when it was happening to me. Because the first one, my physicians didn't prepare me for, and it was like the most traumatic one. And I, in that moment, like while it was happening, I was like, I don't want this to happen to anyone else. And if I can just like find it in me to like get to a certain place after I get through this to like be open to talking about it, then I hope that makes it like demystifies the process and makes people feel less like this is some rare thing that happens. It's actually so common. It's science.
Right.
It's statistics. It's just like the odds of like this is what happens when you're trying to have a family. It's a risk that you have to be willing to face as something that could happen. And I think like the longer I've dealt with it, the more like pragmatic I've gotten about it. But I mean, there are many years of just like deep emotional, like
didn't happen overnight.
No, you're just like sludging, whatever the word is.
All of the above.
I don't know, whatever, like
Sludging.
through it. And you're just like, will I ever not feel this way? And I think like for anyone listening who's like in it right now and it is like emotional whiplash and you're just everything whiplash, like your body is like changing so quickly and you will not always feel this way. I promise. Like you will not always feel this way. But
Start us from the top. Wherever you want to start us.
Well, I never wanted kids. So there's that. Never, ever, ever, like you can ask anyone in my life from my parents to all of my friends, colleagues, they all be like, Dani's not going to have kids.
Yeah.
And then in my early 30s, I started to think about like getting off the road and like not touring as much. And then I just started to do a lot of like deep inner work and was like, why am I so like, why do I actively dislike children? Like, why?
Let's get to the root of this.
Fair.
Anti-kids. That feels extreme. And And I just, through therapy and just doing a lot of work on myself, I just realized a lot of it had to do with like experiences I had in childhood and just like, my dad was married before, and my brother and sister are from that marriage, and I'm the only child from my parents' marriage. And I think like my dad was trying to make up for missed opportunities with them, and my mom's only. She had 3 miscarriages before me, so she was very like protective, and I think that just the pressure of those things made me feel very much like, wow, this is like a lot.
That'll shut you off.
I don't think I really need to like repeat this process, even though it was filled with like good intentions and love, but it was just a lot.
Sure.
And then I was so career focused for so long that nothing else mattered to me. Like I was like, everyone and everything else can fuck itself. Like this is my dream. Like this is what I've been placed on earth for. It's my passion. Like that's all I care about. And then of course, the older I got, I was like, people matter. I should stop being a dick, and like missing weddings for auditions. And then I realized the last component of it was just fear, like fear of like losing myself, fear of like losing my career, which like ironically I did lose a lot of like in this process, mostly because of like mental health and not being able to just like participate in a way that I felt I could show up. Totally. But mostly fear of just like like losing independence and not feeling like I would be a good mother. And once I kind of worked through that, I was like, actually, I think it could be really beautiful to like break some generational cycles and like show up in a new way, like for someone.
It's amazing.
And also my husband is an incredible man. And like, I mostly just want like more of him in the world. Like, fuck me. Like the more, like as much of him as possible.
So sweet.
And so, and then being off the road, I was like, oh, my income is more stable now. It's not like feast or famine all the time. I'm here. So I could see like a day-to-day, more regular kind of routine thing happening. And then I had my IUD in for like 13 years. And
That's wild.
And my doctor was
that
like,
thing rusty up there?
I know. I was like, are we okay?
It actually disintegrated. So
I'm like, do I need a tetanus shot? Like, how are we doing? And my doctor was like, like, we could take it out and put another one in if you want. And I was like, you know what? Let's just see how we go. That was March 2020. I had it removed. And I was like, yeah, let's do it now. This is a great time.
Feels like a great time.
Got
fuck
pregnant.
that year.
I fucked that year all the way, honestly. I got pregnant the first time we tried. And I wasn't expecting that at all. I was 35 at the time, and I have Hashimoto's. Okay. And again, with my mom's history, I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe it won't be that easy for me. I don't know. I had started working on my thyroid more intensely like the couple years leading up to that. So I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm in good shape. Like, okay. And excuse me. And then because of COVID, do you guys have 2020 babies? How old are you?
Well, I got pregnant in September of 2020. Yeah.
So I don't know if they were.
I got pregnant and we all made COVID.
Yeah. It was during COVID.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like you guys had this experience too, but the first place I went to was like a midwife place, and they just weren't seeing anyone until like 10 weeks. And so you weren't getting in at like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And so the day before our appointment, I started bleeding. And I was like, okay, like I know that this can happen. Like maybe I shouldn't think too much of it. But I just knew like my gut. And we went in the next day for the appointment, and they were like, we're so sorry. Like there's no heartbeat. And it's also measuring like 6 weeks when you should be closer to 10. And so initially we were like, okay, we're so lucky that like I can at least get pregnant, and like we have such a great life together. Like everybody karmically has to have bad days, This is a bad day for us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
amazing way to look at it. Oh
the crazy thing is though, like that day I was like, yeah, look at me and my evolved mental health. And then the further out I got from it, the more fucked up I got. Yeah. And the more it started to kind of spiral. But I think what also didn't help was just that initial miscarriage was like very traumatic physically. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they took this approach because they're just very like holistic, and they were like, you may bleed for like
wait for it to pass.
Just so you may spot, and if you fill a pad like more than one every hour, then you should go to the emergency room. But like nothing else. Yeah. And then I basically just had like a extremely traumatic night of like very heavy bleeding, clotting, passing it like in my bathroom. Then you're like, what do I do with this? Like
because you were told like if you fill a pad, then
yeah. And so not only are you like bleeding a ton, but then you're passing like the embryo itself, and you're just like, no one told me this could happen. Like I just thought it was gonna dissolve. Like So sorry if this is like super graphic.
No.
We put a trigger.
Yeah. We always know.
Yeah.
You're totally fine to share whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, because also too, this was kind of part of the thing was I was like looking for information. I'm like, is this normal? Should this be looking like this? Should I be having this experience? Like, I maybe found like one article online of someone, Pierre Louisa. She was an editor at Refinery 29, and she had written an article about her miscarriage, and it was like the most honest thing I had found. I was so grateful for that, but it was the only thing I found.
Really?
Yeah. At that time, I think it's
for like real experiences.
For real experiences of like, okay, I started bleeding at this time. This is what it felt like. This is what it looked like. I went to the hospital at this point, and So that was just like the most painful, unmedicated. They didn't give me any medication at all. So
forgive me. Yeah. I don't know this. I've never heard that. It's painful.
Yeah. So basically you're in labor. So
Did you know that?
Yeah, you're like dilating and you're contracting to pass everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel so naive for not knowing that, but that's like, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, right? Like I didn't think about it that way either. I was like, I guess it's like a bad period.
Right.
And then when I went back for them to make sure I had cleared everything, she was like, no, you're in labor. Like you're in labor. And I was like, that makes way more sense.
But like that should have been told. And like I've never even heard that before.
And they didn't tell me that like I might throw up because from the pain. Like,
gosh.
Or that like because your hormones are dropping, like I don't know if anyone else has this period experience, but like sometimes you poop more when you're So when your hormones are tanking like that, it's just both ends fully, and you're just like, should this be happening? Like, am I getting really dehydrated right now? Like my husband was just like trying to shove electrolytes down my throat, but I'm like throwing up, and like
then you worry about your personal safety as well, on top of like this terrible experience you're having.
Totally. So none of that was told to me. And so I left that place with like a very sour taste in my mouth and was like,
rightfully so.
This is insane.
Yeah.
And so then that was like August 2020. And then I decided to look at my thyroid more effectively, found a really great functional practitioner, and we were kind of trying all these different things. And I had miscalculated my ovulation window and got pregnant again in November.
Oh, wow.
And so then I was like, oh my God, like I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But also my thyroid levels weren't like what I wanted them to be going into trying to get pregnant again. And this time went to a different place, went to women over at St. Thomas. Like, God bless them. They were amazing.
Yep.
And got way better care. And that one we actually got a heartbeat on, but it was really slow. It was like low 90s. And they were like, you're probably going to miscarry. We have seen things come back. Like we don't want to make any moves. So let's keep coming back for ultrasounds. But that is like torture in itself because you're just waiting for your baby to die, basically. And then I like ran into a friend of mine there who like didn't know I was pregnant. And then she's excited because she sees me there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like probably miscarrying today.
Second time.
You know, and she's like 9 months pregnant.
Right.
And I'm like not trying to scare her, but I'm also having like the worst day of my life.
Yeah. Another really
and
bad
you're not
day.
just going to be like,
yeah, it's so great to see you.
Yeah.
You know, and so at this point, you know, you're like in this office with all these pregnant women around you and they're trying to like usher you out the like back door so you don't have to like look at everyone. And it's just awful. But that one I had a DNC on, which is a medical abortion. And they bill it that way on your insurance. Hence why abortion needs to be legal because it's not just for like birth control,
choice.
which by the way, if you want it to be, that's fine too.
Like it's not the use case in this scenario.
But in this scenario, it needed to happen because all of the miscarriages I've had have been missed miscarriages. So if anyone listening isn't familiar with a missed miscarriage, your body doesn't recognize that the pregnancy has stopped growing and it holds onto the tissue.
Okay.
So the longer it holds onto the tissue, the higher your risk of infection.
Okay.
So if you don't know you're not pregnant anymore, you just have this like dead tissue sitting inside your body. You can go septic.
That's so
Plenty
scary.
of people die that way.
Yeah.
Pregnant women die that way.
And so I just wasn't in a place where I felt like I could do it physically again. And so they were like, let's just do a DNC and you'll be in and out in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was like way less physically traumatic, but mentally it really fucked me up because I couldn't process what had happened. I think the first time I was like, okay, this is what's happening to my body. And it's like
baby left your body.
the baby left my body. And like the second time it was like I went in there pregnant and left not pregnant.
Yeah, was that the same day? You got the DNC the same day?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it was just like a lot to kind of like wrap my head around.
Yeah.
So then I spiraled into like really intense like health anxiety for the next like 2 years.
Understandable.
Because my mom had also been diagnosed with recurrent breast cancer in like March of 2020.
Oh, okay.
And so between her like
2020
seriously can continue to fuck all
Yeah. No kidding. Jeez.
So between like that news and then the recurrent miscarriage, I just and like COVID and seeing all these people dying around us and like getting really sick, I just started to assume that like any medical news would be bad news.
Yeah.
And I started to get like overanalyze like everything that was happening in my body. And it was to the point where like I would have panic attacks on like a regular basis and like all of my symptoms would start to manifest like physically and I like couldn't breathe or I would just like be shaking or trying to find like all these different coping mechanisms to try and like get me off the edge because I just like was from the moment I woke up till the moment I fell asleep at night was anxious.
Oh, God.
And
that's debilitating.
it really was. Yeah.
What did you find that worked? Did you find anything that worked for you in that?
Eventually,
time?
so I probably went through like all of 21 and half of 22 just like raw dogging it.
Yeah.
And I found L-theanine, liquid L-theanine would just like take the edge off by like 50%. So I would just like pump that shit in my mouth. And just like, you know. So I would do that like a few times a day.
Yeah.
I started to try to drink less coffee to see if like that would like take me down.
And cortisol levels.
Yeah, like and just trying to do like meditate, tapping, EFT tapping. I found helpful as well. But those were once I found this incredible therapist I started working with here who specialized in the other thing is too I have diagnosed OCD. And so when you have an anxiety disorder and you have OCD, then you're hyperfixated on the anxiety. So it's just like compounded.
Yeah.
And so she specialized in like OCD, pre-postnatal, PTSD, loss, like all of that
Shout
stuff.
out to her. Yeah.
She literally saved my life and was absolutely incredible. And
Also, shout out to you for doing the work and like figuring all of it out.
You know, I think at a certain point you're just like, I can't expect people to want to keep being around me in this state. Like, and
I can relate to that. Yeah.
You know, like, and it's either you decide to try to get better or like it's gonna sound really heavy, or you just take yourself out of the equation. And there are definitely times where I was like, it was just so loud inside my head that I was like, how do you make it quiet? Like I don't want to die, but I also don't know how to like just make it not so loud in here anymore. And I think that was like the heaviest part, was being like, oh, I've never been at this place before and never thought I would ever be. Like I've been in some like dark places, but this is like intense. And by the time I finished with that therapist, she was like, on our last session, I remember her saying to me, she was like, I know it feels like you think you still have so much more work to do. She's like, but from where you came to me at to where you are now, she was like, when you first called me, I was like genuinely concerned for your well-being and like genuinely was about to suggest that you like check yourself in somewhere. And I was like, that's crazy to have someone like say that to you. Because all my friends and family were like, they could see I was going through it, but they're not professionals, right? You know, and they're just trying to show
like
up.
Tread lightly. You can't be like, yo.
Yeah, you're not paying them to listen to you.
Totally. Although like,
well, you know,
I also like cross boundaries with that. I'm like, listen to my trauma, witness my terrible experiences.
What's the purpose of boundaries if not to cross?
True.
But yeah, I mean, she was just like such a game changer, and I think really was like the catalyst for starting to like shift my brain a bit.
Yeah. Really inspiring to hear the steps you took.
Yeah, I agree.
Like taking that upon yourself on top of everything else.
Yeah, I mean, but also you're just like, what other option do I have?
Well, to not do it.
Yeah, that's the other option.
That's what I like. Shout out to you for doing it.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short on that one.
Don't undermine that. Like, there's so many millions of people walking around this world right now who are not doing the work. And like, look, I sound like I'm on a high horse. I'm not trying to sound that way. I'm just saying the other option would be to not do the work, and you did. So you should definitely not like give credit where credit is due.
And for your little baby coming. That's amazing.
Right, you know? Right.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. In my mind, I think part of it too is like my husband was so like long suffering with me in this equation. I was like, I don't want his quality of life to continue to be what it is with me at this stage. And there were so many times where I was like, he should probably just leave me. Aww. Like he should probably just like go find someone younger and like, you know, who doesn't have issues that like he can just have like a family with and be easy.
Personally, I've never had this thought before. Never. Can't relate.
Bill's the best.
Bill's over there like, I love you.
I've never had this thought either.
Never had it. Anyway. No, but and I was just like, I want to be someone that he wants to be with. And by the way, he never made me feel this way. It was just like something I wanted to be able to bring to our relationship. I was like, I miss being the person that like he wanted to be with.
Yeah.
You know, and I just want to be that for both of us, again, regardless of you, whether like we are able to have children or not. And so, I think like just going, like seeing enough of my friends be concerned about me, like living with Matt and having him just be like, I hate seeing you like this. And me also just being like, you know, like white knuckling through life.
I'm a nightmare.
I was like, okay, let's like do the work for sure. But anyway, she was absolutely incredible. And if anyone like needs that resource, like DM me and I will send you her information.
No kidding. She sounds amazing.
She was great. And so then Roe v. Wade got overturned.
Sure.
And so we had just renovated our entire house, had not planned on leaving Nashville. Gosh. We were like, we can't stay.
Yeah.
Like based on my experiences, like we cannot stay if we're trying to continue to have a family, like we have to leave. And the initial plan was just to leave for a few months, go live with our friend in LA who has like this guest house and try again there.
Far enough. Yeah.
And like be in a place where if something happens, I have access to care. Sure. And it happened again while we were in California. And thank God, because that time I was able to get mifepristone and misoprostol. And at that point, doctors here were like very gray on like what the protocol should be. a friend of ours miscarried a couple months later, and they basically just made her sit in the emergency room like unaided because they didn't know like what to do.
Right.
And that was not what I wanted to happen.
So you help the person.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And it's like these poor doctors, it's like
I know.
they want to, but it's like so unclear.
Right.
And so we had the luxury of being able to like rent our house out and like go live in California. And that experience, I think, was the least traumatic with an asterisk next to it of all, because the mifepristone and misoprostol really expedited the process and just made it happen much more smoothly, efficiently, slightly less pain.
How far along were you with that one?
That one, so I carried for like 8 weeks, but that one didn't even measure like a month. Which is really weird because I also didn't want to do the blood work, the HCG blood work, because I was like, I don't want to know if the numbers are doubling.
Anxiety,
I just want to like believe that it's happening and like kind of try
not
to.
Not going to change anything to know. It's just going to affect you negatively.
And the other 2 times I had done it and it was tanking, and I was just like, this isn't going to help me. Yeah. And my doctor out there was like, yeah, we don't have to do it. That's fine.
Good.
So, she was like, I'm so sorry. Like it's measuring like what a brand new positive pregnancy test would basically look like, And so at that point I was like, I'm done.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
3 strikes, you're out, know? And my husband was like, cool, that's fine. And this had been 2 years at that point, though. I had been working on my body, like seeing all these functional doctors, going to acupuncture,
amazing,
doing like changing up like my supplements that I was on. And by the way, throughout all of this, our insurance company at the time,
oh boy,
dun, dun, dun.
I know, like we all know where this is going. Yeah. They had like mismanagement in their leadership, and they couldn't pay any bills that happened in 2020 and 2021 for an extended period of time. So in that period of time, I'm going to these doctor's appointments, paying what I'm supposed to pay, and they're billing the insurance. Cut to me having like $34,000 of like medical debt from them not paying. And
oh God.
Yeah. And so every time I would call them to be like, hey, when are you cutting a check because this provider is going to send this to collections?
Oh,
they would be like, we can't actually tell you that.
So you're like, okay, I'll be stressed about that now. Cause
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list.
Oh,
so then my
God.
credit tanked because all these providers started sending these bills because they're like, we got to get our money somehow, and you're the one that we perform the service for. So, and I'm like, I paid my copay, I hit my deductible, and y'all fucked up. So, so then I did a debt consolidation program, which they didn't disclose that like they take a percentage of whatever your debt is once they get to an agreement. So after they had come to an agreement and charged the fee, I ended up saving $1.13.
Shut the fuck up immediately now.
Yep. And so I was just like,
did you hang that dollar up on the wall?
I need to take deep breaths.
I know. I was like, can I buy a pack of gum? Like, what do I do?
Not
crusty
even.
crab.
Not even.
Here's my dollar.
Oh,
I know. It was so insane. And so you have to laugh, otherwise you'll cry. And at this point, we were like, you know what? We're not, LA ended up turning into like 8 months. And then we were like, maybe we don't want to go back to Nashville. And then we kind of like road tripped for a while because my husband's a producer, but he works a lot in the box. So he can kind of like work from anywhere. And I mainly vocal coach a lot now. And so I can also work from anywhere. Most of my clients are online. So we just kind of like traveled for a while. Yeah. And we're just like, let's just not think about any of this bullshit for a while. But then we eventually were like, you know what, we're not coming back to Nashville, especially if we do decide to like try again. Like,
same reason.
Still not like safe for me. And so we like, one of the reasons we sold our house was to like pay off this debt so we could like move on with our lives.
Yeah.
So
if you don't mind answering, what became of the health insurance.
They're still in business. It's a it's called Liberty Health Share.
Don't use them.
At Liberty Health Share.
At Liberty Health Share. They've gotten, truly.
You're fired.
I've said that to their face many times on the phone.
So do they have a CEO walking around?
I mean, listen.
Yeah, like, can we get them off the market?
Truly, and the thing that really kills me about it is it's a health sharing ministry. It's a Christian health sharing ministry. So you think of anyone who's going to fuck you over, it's not going to be like a ministry, right? I should have known better. I was raised evangelical. I should have known. I should have known.
Yeah,
the writing was on the wall.
Us three could really talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
We could really talk about that.
That's our next episode.
Yeah, part two with Dani is
deconstruction.
Yeah.
We do a lot of deconstructing together. We're gonna. Oh my god.
But and so I have received one $800 check from them that was a year ago, and have received nothing since. So
maybe they should hang the hat. Maybe it's time for them to retire. They should be done.
I think it is time for them to retire.
They haven't figured it out.
They have not.
Just board up the windows, close down shop,
close up that ministry.
Give up the web domain.
Yeah.
Just be done, and also send Dani a check.
Truly, that would be fantastic. Yeah. It's crazy.
$800. So they really made a dent. And
truly. Yeah. I was like, cool. What do I do with this?
Yeah. Honestly, this is more of an insult than.
It truly was. I was like, y'all just keep your money. Write me one big ass check.
Yeah. At this point, don't send me anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
so that was on top of
that.
Everything
Was on
else.
top of all that. So anyway, I mean, so this is the timeline where from 2020 to 2020, early 2024, mid 2024 at this point. When we started traveling, that was summer 23. And I feel like that's when I started to heal mentally with the health anxiety stuff. And I think just I know people say wherever you go there you'll be, and that's true, right? And just because you change your location doesn't mean that your problems go away. But I do think that there is something somatic to just being a new environment and doing new things, and I think that was really healing for the two of us. Again, this is such a luxurious position to be in, to be we're gonna go work in Bryce Canyon for 10 days and just stay in
another
little
bad
Airbnb.
day.
Wah. So sorry for you. And then we went to this place we've stayed at before in the hills in Santa Fe for 2 weeks.
So amazing.
That was fantastic. And we would just walk with our dog at sunset and just take in the nature after work, and
sounds healing to me.
Yeah. It was truly,
so
and
healing.
I felt myself starting to. And by the way, also forgot to say, I got diagnosed with long COVID during this as
with
well.
What?
Long COVID.
So what is that?
So July 22.
No. Did you exist on Earth?
Yeah, it's basically symptoms from COVID that don't go away, or they take a really long time to go away.
It's called long COVID.
Yes, loss of taste and smell, for example. And I know a girl in Nashville who had it for a year and a half after she had COVID. She couldn't taste anything.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
Okay.
Totally. So I got it July 22, and I was at an outdoor concert. I was I'm probably okay, hopefully. But I think that it was ramping up with Omicron or something at that point.
Oh man,
and
that's a blast from the past,
right?
Vintage. Why did they pick that name?
Sounds like a new Marvel villain.
Yeah, literally,
it totally does. It felt like it. It really kicked my ass. But the sickness itself wasn't so bad. I was maybe bedridden for 3 days, and my voice got affected. I would say that took a while to get the flexibility and range back and stuff. But about 6 weeks after that, I started shaking like internally, like as I would fall asleep and as I would wake up for about like 30 seconds on either side.
No, I'm actually all set on that one.
Right? Yeah, I'll pass.
So because of health anxiety, I was like, that's it. I've got MS. I have Parkinson's.
I don't know anyone else in this room that would ever relate to going down this absolute spiral rabbit hole of There's no one in this room that has ever diagnosed themselves with MS multiple times.
Has gone on to Google way more than they should.
Not on one.
Yeah.
Not on one.
Anyway. So that was really affecting my mental health as well, because I was like, why the fuck am I shaking? And then saw more doctors, racked up. That was also part of the medical debt. Went to neurologists, got brain scans, cervical scans, got blood work done, saw autoimmune specialists, autoimmune fertility specialists, and everyone was like, I mean, congrats, you're normal, but I'm so sorry, I can't tell you why this is happening.
Which makes you crazier and crazier because you're like, I'm not making this up.
No,
like
totally.
this is actually happening to me.
But part of me had also thought maybe my anxiety has gotten so bad that now I have actually created these symptoms in my body.
Yeah.
Yes, you're not imagining them. They're actually there,
real.
but they're created from.
They're self-imposed.
Yeah.
You know, like I did it to myself.
Yeah, not any less real.
Yeah. And
terrible.
So my mom works in a hospital, and she has a bunch of doctor friends, and one of her friends is the head of the long COVID department at Yale.
There's a long COVID department.
Oh, girl, they're all over. They're here. There's one here.
Macy actually was just born yesterday. So
no, don't lose your train of thought.
Yeah, please don't. We have to.
But literally, when you said long COVID, in my head I was like, did she just say long space COVID or did she say long COVID?
Long COVID.
I was like, what is long COVID? Okay, never heard of it. Anyways,
it's getting more popular. It's really trending.
You should check it out.
Longer COVID now.
Longer COVID.
Yeah. I have the longest COVID. Oh, you have long COVID? Mine's the very biggest, longest, fattest COVID of all time. So,
well, I haven't heard many of them.
Oh my God. But by the way, it was like a year of this before I could get in to see this doctor. I went home to visit my parents, and
a year of you with the shakes?
Yeah. Just shaking
literally every single night, and then every single morning.
Night and every single morning. Yeah. And you couldn't see it. And that's why I was like, I probably sound like I am insane. And even if you touched me, you couldn't feel it. And that's why, because a buddy of mine has MS, and that's why I thought I had MS, because it's a similar, that can be a symptom. Mm-hmm. And so, every night. And so I went to this long COVID clinic, did all these tests, and she comes in and she's like, would it make you feel better or worse if I told you that this is one of the most common long COVID symptoms we're starting to see? Oh. And I was like, both, I think.
Yeah. An answer.
And immediately with the answer, I felt a weight lifted off me and was like, okay. But then I was like, how long am I going to be like this? And she was like, that's the part that I can't tell you. She's like, I have a patient who's actually a med student who got this in 2020 from that strain, and he still has it, and he visibly shakes. Oh. He walks aided now because he has just been shaking since 2020. Visibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, and he was a med, so he's not 80. He was
No, he was in his 20s. And she was like, listen, she was like, he's still he graduated med school. He's working, he's having a full life. But this has definitely been a huge wrench thrown in for him. She's like, and we're seeing the spectrum. For you, it's mild, right? I know it mentally doesn't feel mild, but it's very brief. It's happening in times you can predict it. And
but then you lay in bed probably just
dreading falling asleep.
I know I'm about to fall.
Is this... I'm trying to think about timeline. Is this in the midst of your travel, or is this after your travel?
I got diagnosed with it right before we started traveling. So this was last summer. I was able to get in, and she gave me the diagnosis. Yeah. Yeah.
So really, a lot of things kind of working against you here.
Yeah.
So many. Yeah. And then also too with my mom's recurrent breast cancer, I had to start seeing a breast specialist. So like then I go for scans like twice a year now and like do a breast MRI in like January. And then I do like an ultrasound mammogram 6 months later. And that's just like forever and ever.
Yeah. Prevention.
I've seen that
not
too.
even prevention, but
because it's on both sides of my family.
Yeah. So it's just like you got to stay on top of that shit.
Which like every time you go, it's like
that's a whole thing
God,
too.
like,
Yeah, you're just like, I gotta let go. And nothing also will teach you about releasing control, like fertility, like
100%.
or health stuff.
Yeah.
Any other health stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like you just have to, because you're gonna drive yourself nuts if you are just like living every 6 months to every 6 months.
You have to do what you can do, and the rest is going to be what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think just like time, like to process all of that.
all of what?
Like,
You mean
That's so much.
oh my gosh.
yeah.
In the span of
Like at that
realistically
time, it was like
4
3 years at that time.
That is so, I mean, that sounds like a lot. Like what you just told us is a lifetime.
Yeah.
It felt like it. Like the way that I feel like I've aged, like visibly, like I look at pictures of myself from 2019 and I look at, and granted, to be fair, that's a 5-year period. I'm going to be 40 Saturday. Sure. I was 35. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's, you're going to change in 5 years.
Yeah.
But I always thought like, oh, I'm taking good care of myself. Like the skin is on point, you know, like we got the Italian genes like working, like it's going okay.
I'm not even just being nice. You look amazing.
No, you really do.
Well,
and what's funny about you saying that is in my head, I was like, God, motherhood has aged me so much. And so I feel like something like that would. And I literally was sitting here staring at you like, damn.
God.
I don't know what you looked like before, but you don't look like you've aged. So
that's very, very sweet of you. But no, I mean like you know the differences, right? Like you look at pictures of yourself and you're like, wow, I look dead inside.
Yeah.
Like,
all the time currently.
For surezies.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but I think getting that diagnosis was really helpful. I saw this really great, while I was up in that area, I saw this really great autoimmune fertility specialist.
Oh, amazing.
Who just really took her time with me. And she was like, again, I'm like, sorry to tell you don't have any other autoimmune diseases. It's just the Hashimoto's.
Which is thyroid.
Yeah.
Which is thyroid, yeah.
And she was like, but you know, the good news is if we can get it under control, she's like, I treat women with MS and lupus who have perfectly healthy pregnancies. Like we can, she's like, you can do this, you know? And she's like, she's like, I hate that I'm about to say this, but I'm going to call it unexplained infertility. Okay. I don't know why this is happening to your blood work. At this point, my blood work was like chef's kiss, perfect.
Right.
I was like feeling good outside of the shaking every day.
And this is with 3.
This is after 3. Yeah. And, so I was just like, I got to move on with my life, I think. And I was like, maybe I'll try one more time, but I also just need to like not look at it. But at the time I'm 38. So I'm like, I'm not getting any younger, you know? But anyway, we just decided to like have a good time together and like travel and like do this. And we got to live in the Netherlands for 3 months. And I swear that specifically just feeling safe on every level, like healthcare wise, but also just like not feeling like I need to get in my car and immediately lock my door every time. I need to not walk out of Target and like look around the parking lot to see if I'm being followed or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like
American men,
truly,
we're talking to you.
Truly. And I think just feeling like I could be in a place.
Bill, we're talking to you. Quit going after women in the Target parking lot.
Supportive husband. No, but like I think, and also just like this somatic thing of like being on a bicycle all the time. Like there's just something to like that movement of like having more play integrated into your life. I don't think we play enough as adults. And like the last time I rode my bike for fun and not for transportation was as a child. Yeah. You know, like and then I would ride in New York when I lived in New York, but it was like to get to and from places. Yeah. And this was just like so peaceful and it was so healing. And like, I feel like if you could thank a place, like I would just like thank it.
Yeah. Netherlands.
You know? It's like the Netherlands like released you.
I feel like you have
there was a release there.
Yes.
You just lived like life though. Like even with like, I mean, ups and downs, but like, man, just you've done a lot of life.
I have, the thing that I think now that I'm grateful for is like during like COVID and since COVID, I've gotten a lot of clients who like started taking lessons as a form of like music therapy. I am not a certified music therapist, but I think like being able to understand more empathetically like where they're coming from emotionally because of like the intense stuff that I've been through, I think has just helped me like connect to them more quickly and kind of be like, oh, I get like it's not some like, I don't know, thing I can't put my finger on anymore. I'm like, no, I know what that feels like. Yeah. And so that's been like a really beautiful kind of outcome from this. And so I'm grateful for that, but I've gotten to a place where I'm like, you don't need to go through shit in order to learn things. In the sense of like, you don't deserve to have terrible things happen to you in order for you to learn a lesson. But sometimes that is just how it ends up happening. But it doesn't mean that like you deserved for those things to happen to you for you to be wiser or more empathetic. I'm like, I'm a nice person. I would still have been a nice person. Did I need to have all of these things happen? Like, of fucking course not. But it probably expedited the process of like me learning some of these like things on this like karmic journey. You know?
Yeah.
So, anyway, cut to this summer. I was like, you know what? I think I feel ready to try like one last time. I've got the long COVID stuff under control. I started taking this drug called low-dose naltrexone, which is really great for inflammation in general. I had also gotten diagnosed with SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which can lead to Hashimoto's, infertility, mental health issues. And that was through Parsley Health, which I cannot recommend enough.
I've heard of Parsley.
I fucking love them. And my provider was incredible. And she put me on like a 4-month protocol of like destroying everything in my gut and like retoning my intestines and like rebuilding my gut flora. And I felt like a new person.
I think this happened like years and years ago, if it caused it.
I don't know when it happened. That's the thing. It's like you can have SIBO for years and not know, or you can get it like really suddenly. It's just like basically
gut stuff is so wild.
It's so hard to diagnose too because there's so many gut things, you know. But I just had a feeling because the algorithm was like, "Bitch, you have SIBO." Like it just kept populating stuff.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I need to listen, you know. And so I
give it a shot.
I asked my doctor to do a SIBO test on me, and sure enough, it came back like.
Is that just a positive or negative?
It'll tell you what kind of degree of like, I think it's hydrogen that you have in your gut, like how your body's processing like gases basically, which basically tells you like if the cilia speed in your gut is slow. And if it is, that's why you have it, because it can't push food out fast enough. So the food sits there and rots. And that's how you get the bacteria. Yeah. So I felt like myself again after doing the SIBO protocol. And I was like, okay, I think mentally I feel very strong. Physically, all my blood work looks great. We had done all this IVF testing just to like rule out everything. That all came back normal. And I was like, are we really about to spend $23,000 that is not covered by insurance on something that has like a 33% chance success rate? I'd rather get a new kitchen. Honestly, that's just like how I feel right now.
Fair and valid.
You know, and my husband felt the same way. And so I also started taking myo-inositol. And I was taking that because I was having trouble losing weight. Just like every pregnancy, I would gain weight and not be able to like lose what I then put on. But it also has really great effects on egg quality.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, you know what? Between all these things, maybe we should try again. And then this is going to be the most LA shit that ever comes out of my mouth. My friend is an astrologer.
I don't think that's like super LA. I'm honestly jealous.
Never heard of
really
a more
awesome.
LA thing in my life.
Like so
amazing.
she's a great songwriter.
It's incredible.
We were in a session together and well, it was 3 of us and my other friend is a medium. So these 2 witchy bitches just started like,
yeah, you're 2 for 2 on that one.
They were like, can we talk about your fertility situation?
And you're like, have you already been? What's happening?
It feels like this was premeditated.
Yeah. And so my medium friend was like, do you want to know if you're going to have babies? And I was like, I sure. And she was like, there's 3 waiting for you if you want them to come through. And I was like, that's too many.
Can you tell 2 to go back?
Like, I'm going to need to make more money.
Yeah.
If we go have 3 babies up in here.
Oh my gosh.
Are you talking about the 3 I lost?
I know. I was like, are you sure you're not confused? Because I had 3. Like, you know.
Yeah.
She's like, no, there are 3 like waiting to come through if you want that. You don't have to host all of them, but like,
sure,
if you want to, they're there. She's like, and it could be a like multiple situation or like an Irish twin situation. I was like, that's a lot. Processing.
Yeah.
But then my girlfriend, who's the astrologer, was like, let me pull up your birth chart. Let me pull up Matt's birth chart. And she was like, holy fuck. She was like, both of you, like this house is trining and whatever. I don't know. It's all like crazy to me. But she was like, basically what this means is like, even if it was just you, the parenthood thing is coming in so strong, it would be enough to make it work just for you. But it's also happening for Matt and it's happening at the same time. And it's happening July 5th. And I was like, that's my ovulation window.
I literally, I believe in this stuff. So
I was like,
it's so crazy, but it's so real.
It's so, and the thing that's so funny, I think like because I was raised like born again evangelical, I was so trained to be like, it's witchcraft that it's been a really slow burn for me to get to a place where I've been like, okay, but enough things have happened with this sort of information over the course of my adult life that it's kind of like tracked that I'm like a semi-believer now.
Well, and both can exist.
Yes.
Like, both can totally exist.
That's also another skill I'm trying to get better at doing is like holding multiple things at the same time. And she was like, she was like, and there's just like these other things happening that have to do with like creativity. And that could be actually with like making songs, but it could also be creation, like you actually creating like life. Right. And so she was like, do with that information, like what you will.
Yeah.
And
was this before July 5th?
This was before July 5th. And so I told my husband, and like we were going away that weekend for his birthday, and I was like, we about to get it on.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, like if you're down, like we can try and just see what happens.
She hacked my Flow app, and so now we have to.
Right? And it's so we were like, all right, let's send it. And then we came to Nashville to like get our house ready to sell, and I was taking those like early HCG tests all week. Negative. And I remember we had a therapy session with our therapist and I was like sobbing the whole time. And I was like, I just like really thought I was. I just feel like it's never going to happen. And like all these things, a lot. And like 2 days later, we go to visit my parents and I wake up with this like crushing headache. And I never get headaches unless I'm pregnant. And so then I was like, that's weird, but all those tests were negative though. So I don't know. I have like one more. Let me go take it. Immediately positive. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what?
What was the date?
So this was exactly 2 weeks from the window that she said it would open, like July 5th. Yeah. And so like 2 weeks, like to the day, basically. And so I was just like, this is really crazy. But as someone who has experienced recurrent loss, you don't get excited about pregnancy anymore. And like you kind of like don't get to have that experience because you just know too much. And so we were like, we told my parents and we were all just like, okay, we'll see what happens. We're cautiously optimistic. I called the same doctor I had in LA last time, booked an appointment for like 6 weeks. And she was like, yeah, just come in early and we'll just see, we'll just see what's happening.
Amazing.
And, but at that time I also got an ad on my Instagram for, this acupuncture studio that specializes in fertility stuff in LA. And I was like, I have mixed feelings about acupuncture. I did it for a year and like I miscarried, know? So like what the fuck? And I have all these other friends who swear by it.
Right.
But I wanted to try herbs. And so I started talking with this acupuncturist out there and she was like, there is a specific herb combination for women who have miscarried before. Wow. And if you're open to trying it, I'd love to like get you on that. And you would be on that through your first trimester.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, like, pretty sure that's what started the nausea because it tasted like asshole.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you take it like a couple times a day. And so I started doing that like the minute I got back to LA. And so then we had our 6-week appointment. We go in and we're just like, Hamsa, whatever.
Yeah.
Usa. And our doctor just like matter of factly is like, cool. Yeah, looks good. Like that's what it's supposed to look like 6 weeks. Come back in like 2 weeks. We can see more. And Matt just started like being drenched in sweat and I'm like crying. I'm like,
so jarring.
Like, that's all you have to say. She was like, yeah, that's good. I was like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Thank you.
Yeah. And she was like, come back in 2 weeks. We can see more. She's like, but right now, heartbeat's like 168.
Great.
Like it's measuring what it should measure. And we were just like, in every fuck, like
all of the
crazy.
Fucks. Yeah.
So then we still weren't like believing it.
Yeah.
Like we have a 0% success rate.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Like all we can do is like get pregnant. You know, like seemingly can't like stay that way.
Right.
So I was like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We go back at 8 weeks and there's like a full blown like gummy bear
like a little
in there. And she's like, cool, looks good. Like, like 170 like heartbeat. And
you're probably still though hesitant, right?
Yeah, oh totally. I was like, okay, whatever. And she's like, you have to go for a scan at 12 weeks since you're over 35. And that's going to be like an advanced like sonogram that I can't do in the office. So go for that. And I was like, okay, whatever, fine, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
Yeah, so we go in, they're like, cool, okay, so like this is all the like the things are happening. That's a foot, that's a hand. And we were like, what?
Oh
like
my
this
gosh.
is crazy. So then I was like, okay, 20-week scan. Like I'm pushing it out and pushing it out. And we had our 20-week scan and like she looks great and like we were just
I didn't ask.
Did she mention briefly?
Girl
I did pick up on it. Let's go, girl.
Well, also too, we like swore it was a boy. Like,
of course,
we were like definitely like I feel like I have like boy mom energy.
Yeah.
Like all my friends always said that too. But then I remember right before we did our little like gender reveal, I was like, I feel like it would be such a shame though because I'm such a fucking feminist. Like if I didn't raise a woman, you know.
And with everything that you have been through, for you to get to be there for a girl that like, God forbid she has any of this that you've been through, but like you have been through a lot.
Totally.
You also like get to have a redemptive childhood experience because like that's one thing
the parenthood in general, but also the girl like raising a woman.
Yes, parenthood in general, but like specifically like girl to girl. Like you were a little girl at one point who did feel this pressure and like all this aboundment of love from your parents that you get to like
such a spoil. I'm like, they loved me too hard.
I totally know.
We all know what you
know what I'm talking about.
Totally. No, totally.
I get, totally. But we totally feel
it made sense completely. But you get to rewrite that with like not only your own child, but a little mini you.
It was crazy because like when we found out, it just felt so like redemptive. I think that is like the word that I think this whole season has felt like very redemptive and like healing to like believe that like you can, even after I told myself, even after that first appointment at 6 weeks, I was like, you know what, even if this doesn't progress, the fact that like I could have a different experience in the same place that I had a terrible experience.
Yep.
Is like let yourself be like healed in some way from that, because that's really cool, and like not everybody gets to have that kind of
100%.
turnaround,
Right.
you know. And so if it doesn't progress, you at least got to have like a different experience. If it does, amazing, you know. But yeah, I think it's just been like just such a wild journey to like look in the mirror every day and like see my body changing and like. And I think it's also made it easier for me to like accept that too, because I'm just grateful to like be here and just
see the next step,
see the next things happening, kind of like unfolding. It's like every visit we have that like she sounds good and things are like going well. I'm just always like, I can't believe it, you know? Like it's just wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still am just like, oh my God, we're gonna have a fucking kid. Like that's crazy.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And you're
due
how
in
far?
April.
Yeah.
6 months officially Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Amazing.
Wow.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. So you don't have to tell us the name, but do you have a name?
I'm taking suggestions. If anyone has suggestions, please, because I'm really overthinking this because OCD.
Okay, let's see.
We probably both have so many girl names because both of us we both have 2 boys.
Yeah, we both have to.
Send them
boy
on
names
over.
I'm out of. We are
I
fresh
think
out of boy
what
names.
we are leaning towards is like something more androgynous. Like I like having like a somewhat androgynous name.
Yeah.
And like I don't want her name to like precede her in a room. I want people to be like, who's going to show up? You know, and just kind of be like, who?
I like
Who is that?
Yeah.
You know, and not have. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping like we get to a better place in feminism by the time she's an adult, and that like people will just treat her like they would treat a man. You know, but I
One
think
can
being able to
help.
sign an email with like a name that you're like,
And her not automatically being at a disadvantage.
yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's like my issue.
No,
but
I also have a
just-
gender neutral name, and I'm thankful for that. I mean, like well, in this moment, I actually haven't. I don't think I've ever really given it much thought, but in this conversation, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool.
If that's what you're going for, the girl name, not that you asked, and you can, if
I
you
did
hate
actually.
it, you can hate
Please
it, but
send it.
the girl name that Chase and I, my husband and I wanted to use, so we would have used if we'd had a girl, is Murphy.
That's cute.
What's your
Isn't it
last name?
so cute?
What's your
I
last
like
name,
that a
Dani?
lot.
So cute. And calling her Murph.
Murph is cute.
It's the cutest thing in the world.
That is really cute.
But that would be one of those names where you're like, Murphy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
if we had
like,
a girl,
who is that? Totally.
you know,
if I thought for sure Rudy, my second was
Rudy's cute.
you can I mean, you can
I
use
like
that for a girl if you
too.
want.
yeah,
You go ahead.
You could.
Go ahead. But my girl name was Scotty. with an
That's
IE.
really cool too.
Yeah, but
These are
then,
great
But then he was a
suggestions.
boy. You can Well, and then my lover. This is not catty at all. My sister-in-law had a baby in August and named her Lottie.
I love
That's
that.
also really cute.
Named her
That
Lottie.
name so
And so I was like, well, if I ever decide to have a third kid and have a girl, probably not going to use Scotty. Because Scotty and Lottie as cousins would be a little bit weird. So, you know, just you can add it to your list and just think through it. But,
Yeah. No, those are great.
Yeah.
That's
like
so
them.
exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story. I do have
gosh.
I have one question, but maybe like 2, they kind of go together. So one thing that I think probably anybody who knows somebody who's had a miscarriage or comes in contact with, you know, if you're ever presented in front of somebody who's had a miscarriage, or even more so close to someone, how do you support that person?
Ooh, it's hard because I think everybody processes differently. It's like
Sure.
some stories of women I listen to, they've been like, you know what? Like, yeah, it was sad, but also like I went to the gym the next day. And I'm like, that was not my experience.
Yeah.
Like I felt like my uterus was flopping around for like 4 weeks after. Like
Like a plastic bag floating through the wind. Yeah.
that was
Full
such
circle.
a great comeback. Yes.
Full
We
circle
brought it
moment.
all the way back around. I'm so just
Yeah,
Thank
that was
you.
good. That was
Thank
good, Morgy.
you.
It did. It did. That was an empty plastic bag in there.
Flip-flop.
But for me personally, I think just like not shying away from talking about it and making it seem like a thing that like you were uncomfortable by, because I'm like, this shit happened to me and my body, and like the least you can do is like
Sit in it.
sit in it with
In the
me.
discomfort.
And like if you don't want to, I don't know that we can be friends,
Sure.
because I feel like I just want to be friends with people who are like willing to be with me in every season of life, whether that's like highs and successes and joys or like the heavy shit too, because I'm willing to do that with people.
And you don't have to fully relate to that experience to be able to be there for somebody.
Yeah.
Well, I guess some people need to be able to relate, but you shouldn't have to be able to relate to be able to, bring yourself into that.
I mean, I think like two of my closest friends who were there for me the most, like, didn't have experience with that. And
you're like, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. Because again, I would never wish this on, maybe I would wish it on Trump or something. Right. But like, I wouldn't wish it on like anyone else. And so, yeah, I'm like grateful when people haven't had the experience. But I think in terms of like showing up, just like being willing to listen, not trying to like fix it, not saying things like, well, at least you can get pregnant. And like, because initially
that was going to be my next question. Yeah. Because obviously like there are things, I don't know if there's ever a right thing to say.
Yeah.
Right? There are wrong things. Yeah. Because I know anybody that I've followed on social media who has experienced an infertility as well, they share things that people say that I do think maybe, obviously come from a place where they think that it's being supported.
It's never there's no malintent, I think, but it's just...
they're so nice.
I think they just really haven't had the experience. Yeah. Or they get nervous and like don't know what to say.
That's valid.
And they're trying. But I think the thing that the statement that bothers me the most, that's usually men that have said this to me, is like, just try again. Because I'm a fucking slot
you mean
machine.
Just have sex with my husband again? You would say that.
Right.
You would say that.
Slot machine. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, let me just
play
like a quarter in it.
Game over,
and put my body through this and like... like hormonally, like the changes that had, like I had headaches for 6 weeks after each miscarriage. Like
that one makes me itch. I'm not gonna lie. Don't say just try again.
Yeah, just try again.
That's a bad one.
So never say that.
Don't channel your dick energy to me.
Truly, that's the last thing that we want. Yeah, so I think it's just like not feeling like you even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Like you can literally just be there.
Like give me a hug.
Yeah. Hug me.
So sorry you're going through this.
Honestly, like I think the touch part of it, I think depending on what your love language is probably, but like I'm a touch person. And the fact that like 2 of these happened in like peak COVID era and I had not had physical contact with anyone outside of my husband for a full year.
Wow.
And I just remember like after I got vaccinated, my best friend and I decided to go to Mexico together, and she was the first person I hugged. Like, and I just remember standing in the airport with her, like sobbing, just being like, hold me. So
endorphins. So intense. My gosh.
So it's just like if you are someone who likes to be touched, I think like letting people know it's okay to like comfort you, or if you don't want to be touched, also just being like you can just be in this space with me and not feel like you have to like rub my back or like hold my hand or so I mean that's I would say also like just like keep showing up too, because I think it's when you're in grief, no matter what kind of grief it is, I think it's hard for the person who's grieving to like show up in their life and like reach out to their friends in the way they typically would, and just having people check in with them is like really helpful and just know that people are like thinking of you and you're not just isolated because it feels so isolating.
Like in relationships when it's like it's not 50-50, it's 100 and 100. You have to also be able to use that context to know that like this person, I need to give 125.
Yeah, that like Brene Brown concept, right? It's
I
like,
love her.
Yeah, that like, okay, I'm working on like 25% today. Okay, I'm going to up it to 75 so we are a complete unit.
Exactly.
And I think it does apply that. I had never thought about it like friendships, because my husband and I talk about it in like a partnership sense, but that's a great way to
is in
apply it
all
to
relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
All close relationships.
Definitely. Definitely.
It's amazing. It's amazing. What's next for you? Like besides having a dang baby girl?
God, girl, I'm trying to figure it out. You know, it's like I think I've really missed just like making music, like not my own artist stuff anymore, just because it's so exhausting and financially draining.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But I've like started writing songs again this year. And that's felt really nice to like have some really solid people to do that with and just like even be thought of for opportunities and like started doing some like casual backing vocal stuff. And I think I've been able to kind of like re-enter into the music community with like a much better mindset than I even had like prior to all the fertility stuff. Because I think a lot of it prior to that was very ego driven and very like, I need to prove to myself and everyone else that I'm like worthy enough of like getting these types of like gigs and sustaining these, like maintaining these types of gigs and
singing in Amie Muriello's face just to prove that I am worth it.
Right. But so I think now whenever I get an opportunity to sing, I'm just like, this is great. I'm so grateful to just like sing and like sing with other people. And I would love to be doing more of that. And I have my own podcast called First Time for Everything.
Amazing.
First Time for Everything.
Yeah. And that's been really fun to do. Like I had initially started it like right before I got pregnant the first time. Like I started putting it together and then I just didn't have the bandwidth. And so I finally launched it like 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
But it's like very casual. Like when I have time, I was doing it like bi-weekly for a while, but I talk with people about their first time doing something and hopes of like getting people to try new things.
Yes. How amazing.
Yeah. So I would love to like
check that out. I'm checking it out.
Do more of that. I'm like, should I bank episodes before she gets here and then just like set it up for release, or do I even need to be thinking about that right now? I don't know.
Hey, whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Do what feels best.
Yeah. So I think just like being creative, like, trying to like make money from being creative, but in a healthy way. Whereas again, before it felt more like desperate and ego driven, where now I'm just sort of like, what doors are open for you, bitch? Like stop trying to push doors open.
Right.
Like the Katie thing's a great example. I kept being like, I want this gig. Like I will keep going out for it. And it was, the universe was like, girl,
the door
sit
is
down.
fucking locked.
The door is locked, dead bolted. We have changed the lock multiple times and you keep trying to break in.
Like, this one's got a screen with a hole in it, girl. Like, go through it.
And like so myopic, like couldn't see it. And I think like age has given me the gift of getting better. I'm not excelling, but getting better at being like, oh, well, you know what though? This thing just presented itself.
I
like
love
maybe I should follow that.
I love that perspective. Yeah. That's good.
So I think just like trying to find a way to still like be myself while like knowing I'm going to change in the very near future and like just kind of
I love
grace
it
for that.
Yeah. Have the
so
grace for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be hitting you
So
guys
much
up
grace.
for advice. Like,
no, literally, please, I beg of you, do. I do not have social media, but you have my phone number. And I am open to a text or a call.
Good for you.
Same.
What's it
Always.
like not being on the social
I know.
media?
I feel like we need to have a whole episode about that. It's great.
We should.
I
It's wonderful and fantastic and amazing. I'm never going back.
We really should.
When did you stop?
Oh, how long has it been, babe? 4 or 5 months.
But you would like go on spurts of being off of it.
I was I was
Before
going
that.
on spurts of being off of it. I would just delete the app. But then I was just like, I would open it and every time just be like,
Don't want to be here.
I hate this so much.
Yeah.
this is everything I hate. And I just hated it. And I wasn't even like, I've come a long way from like the trying to keep up on social media. That was like, 8-9 years ago me, but 6 to 9, maybe a little, but so I like moved away from that. I think motherhood did a lot of that. Growing up, there's more things to life. And there's different from like having a business that you rely on social media for. That's not what I'm talking about. But like the keeping,
Totally get it.
because mad respect. But then I kept getting on it, I hated it, whatever. And then I was like, so if I know that my account's not just sitting there, if I just like deactivate my account, that would be fantastic. So there is a piece of me that I really love my account being gone and people can't even go creep.
Yeah.
Because I was already private. I was already very, very private. Like am like shut down, like, you know, very particular about who saw my stuff, but now it's completely gone.
There's
and
no
it's,
Morgan Niebuhr.
You guys, very fulfilling for me, actually. And the mental clutter that is just erased from.
I can't.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
I
really
cannot
great.
imagine.
Yeah.
Really great.
That's so great, Morgie.
Decluttering the mind is
That's,
awesome.
you know?
Yeah.
You know? That's my thing.
I love it.
I
No,
love
you should
it.
definitely do and I would love to hear like the process and like how, if you ever felt tempted to go back, like all
Hey,
there's a lot of meat
There's
there.
a first time for everything. Being off
You know
social media
what?
since I was 14. First
Girl,
time.
come on
since-
over.
Oh my
Let's
gosh,
actually,
fun.
That's a great episode. Okay, you heard it here first. It's happening.
You heard it here first time for everything with Dani.
Oh my gosh, go on it.
Okay, I mean, fine, whatever. Again, you have my phone number. Yeah,
that's
advice.
a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Where else can people find you?
Speaking of
Yeah.
Instagram at
Come on, let's go. No, plug it, sister.
Everybody hit that follow button.
Like, I need the validation still, but it is for
Like
my
and
business.
subscribe.
Like and subscribe. On Instagram at Dani Official. It's DAANI.
Ooh.
That was my like artist moniker, and I just like
That's
haven't
cute.
Totally, I
changed
love
it.
it. Don't
You
ever
shouldn't.
change it.
I like it.
On TikTok, even though that's about to come to an end in January, apparently.
Oh, is it really?
That's
Unless
what the
they can get it
government
bought by
says.
an American company. Yeah.
I will be shocked. Honest, so many
There
people
is
make
no
money
way.
off TikTok.
There's
like,
no
really, are they
way.
going to shut it down? Like,
Yeah.
also, I've created a really nice little feed that's like very sweet.
Oh
over
yeah.
there.
So
Like,
I do flip through TikTok about, you know, less than once a day for like a little bit, but you know,
yeah.
it also if like something's happening.
But
in
Instagram
current
was the one
events,
that
I'll be
you
on
would
more.
like
Instagram's
post on
different.
and like Instagram's different.
It is
Yeah.
different.
Instagram's different.
Yeah, and I want to
Yeah.
say like it's no hit to anyone who like likes Instagram. It's just that like I feel like it's for most people it is not a healthy
No, it's not.
thing. It's good for what it's good for. Everything else I kind of wish people could like throw
Yeah,
away.
For sure.
You know?
Having
I could not
boundaries
agree with
it
that more.
Yeah.
is great.
It's like a vortex of
Yes.
doom.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yes.
It's
Totally.
not great.
Totally.
It's really not
Totally.
great.
Yeah, and TikTok is like 80% of capitalism right now. Maybe more. So
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think we get rid of that and like we're just going back to the pilgrimage.
yeah, honestly.
There's no way they're going to be able to do that.
I hope not. I think people would be in such an uproar for many
Where
reasons.
else are we going to hear about Luigi Mangione
mean, listen,
conspiracy
the internet's
theories? Y'all,
boyfriend
he
right
did
now.
it. Quit being crazy. Not everything is a conspiracy theory. See, that's another thing. I'm like, y'all, your brain is literally rotting. You guys are
Yeah.
okay? And
Yeah.
again, that's why I like hearing perspectives like yours where I'm like, y'all, there's more going on.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like look up, lock in to life.
yeah.
Right.
Sweetie pies.
It's
okay.
true.
Sweetie
Sorry.
pies,
Wow.
get off.
Sorry. Y'all let me on camera once and it's like we have this super serious conversation that I'm like,
I'm here for
No,
it.
I love it. This is your thing.
Here for
anyway.
We should do a
But-
little episode on it. Or
yeah.
no, her podcast.
DAANI.
Official is on
is Instagram.
Instagram, but I'm on TikTok. Just I think it's _ Dani Elliott, and that's just DANIELLIOTT. And then you can get First Time for Everything wherever
Beautiful.
you stream your
Oh my
podcasts.
gosh.
And
I
on
want to
YouTube
listen to
and-
it. We need to listen to it.
I'm listening
Yeah.
literally tomorrow.
We need to
Yeah,
listen.
do it.
It's amazing.
Do
Yay.
it. Let me know
Amazing.
which one you check out.
Of
and
course.
also,
So
please
fun.
give me your feedback too. I would love
Yeah.
to hear like other people
I
who are
mean,
doing it. Like what
I don't know
Sure.
if we know what we're doing, but we can get feedback.
I also
Sure
need a
thing.
new mic. I want to know what your opinions are about these guys
Okay,
because mine's
yeah.
getting funky.
Yeah, Bill can definitely talk to you. Yeah.
Me
about
too.
that.
I know how to adjust them and everything.
Yeah. It's never in her face when I'm trying to get the screenshot for the YouTube thumbnail. Never.
This is like how I sit.
No, it's actually been better lately. So you are really becoming a true podcaster.
I still don't know how to adjust. Amy's always like
No, you
talking,
do.
like doing all this. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
well, it's more of like a this up and down rather than like a, that's because Bill usually gets it at a good spot.
Sweet spot.
Anywho, my God. Dani, is there anything else you want to say? I don't want to like cut you off if you have like other thoughts.
I feel like I like kept you here for so long. I'm
Okay,
like, I'm
your
such a cha-cha-on like to my
No, you're
like my mom's like cha-cha-on like wrap it up.
no.
Lit Please don't even let your mind go there.
Because
this is wonderful and amazing.
Your story is insane. Like, it's not just big quotations. It's not just the miscarriages that even starting with like what you said about your parents and your childhood, I just feel like you have
layers.
There are so many layers, and you've done so much peeling, and
the onion is very layered.
I'm just I'm like inspired by you. I'm excited to
You're awesome.
No, seriously. I'm excited to listen back to this episode and be like, well, what am I going to do to make myself better now?
I know. I'm like loving it.
Like, did this feel like therapeutic to you?
Yes, it's amazing. And I thought it was a really thought-provoking conversation, which I love.
Like, Morgan and I are going to go to Dose
I'm an alto,
like
you can't tell.
Friday and debrief all this.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to, like, I don't know. That was so inspirational.
Yeah. When are you back in Nashville? Ever? I mean, you're having a freaking baby, so
yeah. So I don't know.
NVM on that one.
I don't know. I was actually just talking with Amie about. I'm like, work stuff. I'm always down to come.
Yeah.
So if things pop up, like, I'm always happy to come back for work. We still have like so many friends here and community and stuff.
Yeah.
No plans as of right now.
Maybe
like
one day we get like a Zoom update episode.
Yeah, would love that.
Your baby.
Would love that.
We should do that.
Yeah.
We could be the host of First Time for Everything, and we're interviewing you first time.
Oh my God. You just get me like in the trenches, just like circles.
Yeah. And we'll be like, we know what that
We
look
know.
is.
We know.
Very intimately.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I know that you said at the beginning, like, you, after your first, you wanted to make sure that it was talked about because you felt like it wasn't. But that doesn't mean that it's easy, and you have to relive it every single time you tell your story. So thank you for doing that. And
Of course.
you are so well spoken and so wise, and I'm like literally so inspired and in awe of you. I'm excited for the listeners to listen to this one because I think everybody's gonna get what's it called, a cherry,
morsel.
A morsel.
Yeah, like
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And
from like different, like everybody's gonna get a different piece of this.
Yes, absolutely. They're gonna take away something unique.
I hope
and
so.
you providing to people that insight that you didn't have at first, like someone listening to it who might be going through it, and like it's like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing real stories.
I mean, I hope it doesn't feel too like traumatic for people to like relive who have like gone through it and maybe are in the place I was in like a couple years ago. But I'm hoping that it leans more on the side of like just catharsis and feeling like, okay, like I'm not the only person to experience it. Because again, I think with any kind of grief, like you just feel like you're the only person that has ever been through this, you know?
So hard to get out of that.
So hard to get perspective, you know? And I think just like hearing other people's stories is like, you know, as like cheesy as that sounds, it's like, oh, no, like
cliches are cliches.
Yeah.
For a reason.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you even looking at the camera and saying like, if you are going through it now, you will get through it. Like
you will.
That's going to speak to somebody's soul. And I'm just so grateful for that.
And I truly mean that, like you, like, again, like, you know,
you will.
Yeah. Like it, cause I was just talking with a girlfriend of mine who's had like a really, really tough year. And she was like, am I going to feel this way forever? And I was like, you won't.
Yeah.
I promise you won't. You think you will. You sure will think you will in that moment. And you're just like, I am forever changed, which you are. You're also not going to be who you used to be.
Right.
And I think one of the hardest parts is learning to accept that and let go of that and realize that like, you're not this like carefree like person who can just like, you know, I'm going to have a baby because I want to.
Yeah.
You know, or insert whatever your heart's desire is, you know, and then just learning to like accept this new version of yourself, but also decide that like that's not the final version either, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you come back for every episode?
Yeah, like, aw.
I know.
New permanent co-host.
Oh my goodness.
Coco co-host.
Happy to jump in whenever y'all have to, you know, jump on other Tiny Desk opportunities.
Yeah. I actually am the next up on Tiny Desk. I'm singing.
Who are you back? Let's do that. That might be a fun closing game. Who are you backing up?
Post Malone.
Fun. Are you really?
No. Oh my gosh.
No, because my one of my girlfriends does. So I was like, oh, y'all like, yeah. So I was like, y'all are like,
what
friends.
does she
like,
say about him?
I've only heard her say good things.
Stinky?
I love
But also,
him
I don't know if they've signed an NDA.
so much.
But
he comes across as the greatest, most just wholesome, genuine gentleman in the
he
entire
does
world,
seem
and I
that
love
way.
him so much.
Gentleman.
I'm going there next weekend. It's just,
are you really?
It's just me. I'm the only.
Listen, I fully believed. I was like,
know.
yeah, great.
we should have run with that.
Yeah. Who would you back up on Tiny Desk?
Celine Dion, 100%.
Oh, what an answer!
100%. Are you fucking kidding me? I put a poll out on Instagram asking if it was like too crazy fan to name my daughter after her.
No.
I was like, Celine is a beautiful name. It's not as androgynous as I would prefer.
It's a
but
beautiful
if she's named
name.
after Celine fucking Dion, it doesn't matter.
Badass.
And the correct response, which was no, that's an appropriate
For sure.
choice. So, but I think I would probably just like pass out if I was ever in her presence.
Yeah.
I got to meet Stevie Wonder once on a gig, and I almost passed out from that because he's my other he's like in my trinity of spiritual reasons why I do music.
Yeah.
It's like Stevie, Mariah, Celine.
Oh yeah,
And
what a trinity!
I know, and I got to meet Stevie and totally like shit the bed, and it was like Mr. Wonder.
Hey, he could only smell. He could only smell it. He couldn't see it.
That's true.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
he was so lovely, and he smelled amazing too.
Oh, really?
He was
I love
everything.
that. Post Malone would smell
he
so
did.
bad, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Well, now I'm panicking. Yeah. I don't know who I would choose.
My second is Paul McCartney. If that's any
Michael Bolton.
More it. Oh,
Love Michael Bolton.
I like that one.
Because I actually, I have like this like old like on Christopher Cross. I choose Christopher Cross.
Who is that?
You know Christopher Cross?
Yeah. So my husband has played with Christopher Cross, and my girlfriend used to do backup for Michael Bolton for years, actually.
Oh my
so if you ever
gosh.
want to, she might be able to hook it up for you, girl. You just say the word.
So
We'll put in the calls.
the little
Cross?
Christopher Cross. So I actually have his record up on a shelf up there. Just like it's the only vinyl I have.
Have you watched the
on display.
yacht documentary, Yacht Rockumentary yet?
No.
I think it's on Hulu, and you would enjoy it. He's heavily
Done so.
featured.
Done so.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Or Amazon Prime, one of those.
Sailing and also ride.
I think I know those.
Yeah, you probably do. The big deal with my dad. It's like nostalgic for me. So,
Quick sailing story. So when this is like my husband and I are only 5 years apart, but it's just enough with like pop culture stuff and also like Christian kid that I have enough gaps in my like pop culture knowledge. And so when he got hired to play in Christopher Cross's band, he was like, "Oh, it's so cool! I'm gonna go out with Chris Cross." And I was like jump. He
Like
was
jump.
What? And he's like, no, like sailing. And I was like the NSYNC song.
Yeah. No.
And he goes, what? And I was like, sailing takes me away. And he's like, that's Christopher Cross. And I was like, that's NSYNC.
That
Because that was my like era.
Yeah.
And he was like, they covered sailing. And I was like, what?
insane.
You're like, no.
Insane.
That's
They
an NSYNC
wrote
original
it. Yeah.
bop.
They for sure wrote it.
I can't
the five
believe
of them together.
all three of the mentions post Michael Bolton and Christopher Cross, all of our favorites.
It's a tiny world out
we're
here.
A degree of separation.
Yeah,
away.
that is pretty wild.
You're very close to all of them. Yeah.
That's so wild.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I
the
mean,
world is so small.
I would like
Don't
to be on
worry.
your podcast episode of first time I ever met Post Malone.
first time for everything.
If we can make that happen.
Let's make it
Getting impregnated by Michael Bolton and also Christopher Cross's
As he sings,
voice.
how am I supposed to live without you?
And on that note,
Wow, I
Great.
love it.
that
Danny,
question.
this has been
it's been amazing.
Such
Which
a
was so
pleasure.
fun talking with you guys. So great.
So good.
You're so easy to talk with. You're such great hosts.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, crushed it.
Thanks. You crushed it.
You crushed it.
I
So
like
good.
don't want it to end.
I
That's the
know.
sign of a good
Well,
guest.
I know.
That's
I
a
know.
sign.
We must.
Well, thank you.
Yes, of
I'm
course.
very excited for listeners to get to hear this one.
Yeah, and congratulations.
Yeah,
on your
thank
baby
you.
girl. So happy for
Sweet
you.
baby girl.
Awesome. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Bye
See y'all
bye.
next time.
Rock, rock, rock me, mama.